Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer. Welcome to Wasteland Talks, my weekly talk show where I talk about whatever the hell I want, and my annual tradition of doing my top 10 films of the year with my buddy Matt Williams. Matt, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me, man. For this is how many times have we done this so far?
I feel like we've been doing this since like 2017 or 18, minus 2020,
Oh yeah, the
because you
gas
didn't
leak
watch
year.
enough movies in 2020.
Yeah, yeah.
But we're back. We're back to watching movies. Well, I never stopped. Like it was so funny at that point where it's like so many people I knew. It's like I really haven't been watching movies. I'm like I'm watching literally everything that's getting fed right to my home.
Yeah, I feel like I was like so happy. I think I watched like over 40 movies last year, and I know that like halfway through last year, and I was like really proud of myself because usually it's a fraction of that. But then I know like usually midway through most years you're like getting close to like triple digits. That's like I just can't do it. I just
Well,
can't
well,
do it.
Matt, I've cracked 750 the past 3 years.
Oh, okay, yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's a lot of film.
I
That's a
ha
lot of
I
film.
have already watched 40 something movies of 2024 so far.
Wild.
You're all welcome for my sacrifice. But how we're going to do this is we're going to switch off. We're going to do some honorable mentions first, and then Matt's going to do his 10. I'm going to do my 10. You know the drill. You've watched top 10 videos before from other people too. So if somebody has it higher, we'll just punt it. But Matt, what are your honorable mentions?
Yeah, I guess so. First, I'll go with the movie Air
Nice.
with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck and Jason Bateman and a bunch of other random people.
Viola Davis
Viola Davis.
and not Michael Jordan.
Yeah, exactly. Whoever that guy at the back of that guy's head.
Yeah.
That was a great movie. It was a great business movie. It was a great sports movie. It was
Hmm.
funny. It was dramatic. I had a really good time. I feel like the only reason why it's on my honorable mention is just because that like the fantastic things that that movie did, it was just kind of like I never got like an urge to say to be like, okay, I really need to get this like the Blu-ray to that. Like I never got
Hmm.
that urge when I was watching it, but from start to finish, I thought it was fantastic. I almost went to like a Nike store after the movie, then I was like, wait, mm, let me save my cash actually. So then I'm not ended up doing it because responsibility, rent, etc. But then my other honorable mention is John Wick 4. I mean, any film that has that staircase scene, any film that has that like overhead, like it's not Pac-Man, but it's kind of like it looks like a video game. And not
Hmm.
only is it people fighting in with a camera angle that I had never seen before, but then also like this like half shotgun, half
Incendiary
flamethrower
rounds.
like it was crazy. I feel like I was like watching kind of like Call of Duty Zombies. I don't know. It was crazy. It was a good movie, a really fantastic movie. I hate when I go on YouTube and people kind of like post like fan made trailers and it's like John Wick 5 is coming out and there's no dislike bar anymore, so then you'll see kind of just like 3 million people have like clicked on the video, so you think it's legit, and then it's like, oh wait, so is this BS or is
Yes,
this not?
John
Is
Wick
it?
Chapter 5 has not been confirmed, but we are getting the spin-off Ballerina
Mm,
coming out this year with Ana de Armas. So that'll be interesting. Except that's directed by Len Weissman, who made like Underworld and stuff like that. And I'm like, Chad Stahelski is the one that made these movies so amazing, and I'm a little concerned him not being involved. We'll have to see. But
mm,
we'll talk more about that one later. I'll quickly go through. I'm just gonna give you like five quick honorable mentions.
okay.
One, Lakota Nation versus United States. This is a really relevant and poignant documentary about Native Americans fighting for the rights of lands that were stolen from them by US government, so that's always fun. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I cannot listen to Florence and the Machine the same way ever again after the end of this movie. And this was like the perfect way to end this trilogy and to see James Gunn off. And yeah, I really hope that Marvel starts making consistently movies of that quality again. We'll have to see. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, the worst title of the year because it should have just been Dead Reckoning and maybe more people would have saw it. But this franchise is just incredible when it comes to action. All of Us Strangers. This is one of the most haunting and emotional movies that I've watched this whole entire year. It's such a fascinating gay love story, but also such an interesting like ghost story. And I'm not going to say anything more about it because it's that weird and fascinating. And my last honorable mention is the disappearance of Cher Height. I had no idea who this person was, and after I watched it, I'm shocked that the our culture just completely ignored this person for the past couple of decades. And I'm going to leave it at that. Let's just say that she made an extremely interesting impact on our culture and how we deal with sex and intimacy and relationships. So it was a very interesting documentary. But, Matt, what's your number 10?
Okay, all right. Drum roll, drum roll. We're gonna go with the movie Bottoms. This movie,
Yes.
from start to finish, is so absurd and crude. And I remember like walking into the movie Booksmart, and I remember thinking, okay, please just be as good as your trailer. You don't even have to be as good as Superbad, just be as good as your trailer. When the trailer I thought was fantastic. That movie is as good, if not in some parts better than Superbad, which is like really saying something because Superbad is like an incredibly awesome movie. And some of the jokes are a little bit cringy, but you know, it's okay, it's whatever. But like both of those are fantastic.
Mhm.
Bottoms, like basically goes, you know what? I'm not even concerned with those movies. I'm going to very much do my own thing. And I'm going to double and triple down in ways that you didn't see coming. Not to spoil it, but the sword and the end, I'm just going to say that. There's someone, uh, yeah. Someone has a sword. Someone has a sword. But no, it was fantastic. It was so funny and interesting. The two lead actresses are, I don't know, I think that they make fantastic things. Like I know like one of them is on the bear and
Yeah.
she's getting just like,
Io Edebiri.
yeah, like she's fantastic. Also, she's a voice actress in one of the other movies that I saw like this
Oh,
year that
I
I
know
thought was really
exactly what
great.
you're talking about.
And I don't feel like enough people even like talk about the movie. I don't know. I thought that was fantastic. But then and the other lead actress in Bottoms, wasn't she in Shiva Baby?
Rachel Sennott, she's best friends with Emma Seligman, who wrote and directed the film. So
Gotcha.
like they're friends and they've made both these films. I love Shiva Baby. Shiva Baby was one of the best movies of like the past like 5 years that came out. And Bottoms, I had so much fun with this movie. This movie's unhinged, and this is going to be living in queer cinema Hall of Fame for forever. Because like this is a raunchy early 2000s bro comedy except for lesbians. And it's so beautiful in the way that it comes to life in that way. Because honestly, like Rachel Sennott's character acts like one of those douchey bros from early like 2000s teenage comedies. And like even like the supporting cast, like Marshawn Lynch, hilarious. NFL player Marshawn Lynch, who's their teacher, who's the club advisor for this like lesbian fight club. It just this movie it's so crazy. And I was shocked by this because, like, this is the movie that the follow up to Shiva Baby because it's like so crazy from start to finish. But there's so much fun to be had with this movie. I loved it.
Also, really a good song by like a musical artist named King Princess, I think. The song's called Pain. And it was the song that plays during the montage scene, or at least one of them. Fantastic song too. Any movie that gives me music, kind of like Into the Spider-Verse gave everybody like Sunflower. It was like any time a movie gives me a music or soundtrack that actually I can walk away with, and it's like, ah, damn, I love that. Yeah, that's always memorable for me. So yeah,
Um,
Bottoms, thank you for the music
Murder on
recommendation.
the Dance Floor from Saltburn. That kind of experience.
Uh,
My number 10 is The Holdovers.
Ooh, got you. Okay.
Is this on yours?
That's my number nine. But yeah,
Oh, I guess that's close enough. We could talk about it now. This movie, and shameless plugs, I was on the Real Mental podcast with Dr. Marcia and talked about this film. This film is so fun, so emotional, and there's so much depth and humanity centered around these three seemingly random people who are stuck together over the Christmas break. And Paul Giamatti is giving like his career performance. This feels like this was his performance he was meant to give, and he might wind up stealing that Oscar away from Cillian Murphy. That's going to be really interesting once we get up to the Oscars. But he's so good. And then the young teenager, this like Will Sessa or something, like this is the first movie. He's so good. And Divine Joy Randolph, if she doesn't win Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars, there's something wrong with uh, who are voting. This is just, I love what Alexander Payne does with this film, how it's shot, how it looks, the music. It just captures the time period, how it deals with trauma, and how building human connections can help heal people and bring them back from the brink or help them grow. And I just love this film from start to finish. And it's going to be one of those like holiday classics that I feel like a lot of people are going to circle back around to every year.
I like it a lot. Yeah, I think I wasn't expecting what they ended up doing with the young man's father. I thought that was interesting. Because
Goddamn
you
rich
think it,
people.
yeah, because
Just
you
hiding
think
the
it's like,
problems.
yeah, 'cause I don't know, because like for some reason, like my brain was like, I was kind of like solving the puzzle, or at least what I thought it was like a puzzle. Like I already know where this this is like a familiar beat, but it ended up not being, and it was kind of like
Mhm.
heartbreaking in that way. I thought that was really cool. Um, Also uh like the kids and the teenagers in the towards the beginning of the
Yeah.
movie also didn't feel like I don't know how to put it like they were like kid actors, but they're just actors, like people just like delivering performances and not just kind of like
Mhm.
when you get like that stilted kind of like line reading where it's kind of like, are there cue cards behind the camera? I don't know. Like everyone
Yeah.
from beginning to end, it was fantastic. My only like thing about that movie is that I wish there was kind of like, and maybe there is a different movie that exists where like those the rest of the cast, it doesn't kind of like bottleneck into what the rest of the movie ends up looking like, and then maybe like the rest of the cast kind of like stay like the rest of the students kind of stay through like the whole movie. That would have been kind of interesting to kind of see like all of that, like all of them kind of like being like left over and kind of like dealing with each other, navigating stuff. 'Cause I kind of missed some of those characters as the movie went on, but then also I ended up like loving like other random things too. But yeah, no, fantastic movie, fantastic Christmas movie, fantastic performances. Yeah, also really good ending too.
Mhm.
Really good ending too. I really like that ending. But yeah, that was my number nine. Yeah, it got me. It got me to feel. Yeah,
It
multiple
got
times.
me.
Yeah,
So you had your 10, I had my 10, that was your nine. So my nine is the documentary Four Daughters.
talk to me.
this is a fascinating film that focuses on a woman and her processing raising her four daughters, where two of them were radicalized into joining Islamic extremists,
Oh,
and the other two, and processing all kinds of trauma. And what's so fascinating about this documentary is it has like the mother, it has the two daughters left, and it has these two actresses coming in and portraying the other two daughters in these dramatizations. And like there's so many like layers to like what this film is trying to portray in terms of how it balances just this very human interaction with this mother and her two daughters and these two actresses who are trying to learn and understand the experiences of the two other daughters that they're portraying. It's and like the dramatizations are really impressive in this film, but where it really hits you is when it's just being real, focusing on this small family and how they engage with each other, what they've been through with each other. It's this Tunisian film just blew me away. I had no expectations for this. And this really was like eye-opening in terms of like how people get to a point where they join like an extremist group and wind up being on like the side of like killing people and committing these acts and stuff like that. It's it was something that you don't see films like this a lot, and this really blew me away. And this really should be up there. If I'm not mistaken, this is one of the front runners for like documentary for the Oscars this year. I'm obviously pulling for it. I was really impressed by it.
not sure. Yeah, I haven't heard about that, but and it definitely doesn't uh, sound like a fun Thursday evening in.
No, not
But
the
I
kind of film that you just pop in and it's like, I'm gonna have a good time tonight. And then an hour and a half later, you're just like tears and just like, nope, that wasn't fun.
oh,
So definitely would recommend if you can find it. I think it's
yeah.
on VOD. I think I rented it on Vudu. I think that's where I got it. Matt, what's your number eight?
My number eight is TMNT Mutant Mayhem.
Mutant Mayhem.
Okay, so a couple of things. Like the moment that did I see the movie with you? I feel like I did, right? Didn't we see that together?
No, I had a press screening for this, and I went with Jess and Kevin.
I think you and I saw Blue Beetle. That's what we saw together.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, no. So watching this movie, me being me being a fan of music in general, but then also me being like a hip hop fan and me being born in the early 90s, there were so many awesome like moments where I think it was uh like Blackstreet and with the No Diggity song and like a
Mhm.
Tribe Called Quest. I think it was like Can I Kick It? It might have been a different song. I don't know. Such great music throughout the whole thing, specifically the No Diggity one, because that's when like they're fighting all those gang heads basically, and they're going through like all of those things, and it's kind of just like
Fun
scrolling.
montage.
Yeah, that was fantastic. I think that um like the animation looked so odd, and it took a minute to kind of like be okay with it, especially looking at like the human characters and they like just like unapologetically looking just I don't know, just surreal. But I thought the music was fantastic. I thought the cast, which is star studded, I thought that was fantastic. I
Hmm.
thought the story was great. I feel like I don't know, like I like to watch at the end of the year a lot of like top 10 lists of a lot of different kinds of things like music and like TV shows and obviously movies. I feel like people kind of like forgot or maybe this is things that I've been clicking on. I feel like people kind of forgot about like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but
This 100% should be one of the five animated films for Oscar this year.
oh, 100%. I thought it was fantastic. I think I
And
haven't
if
even seen it.
Elemental
Yeah.
or Wish or Super Mario Brothers gets that spot instead, I'll be disappointed.
I will personally make a Twitter account just so I can kind of like go off. But yeah, no, that movie was fantastic. The action was great. It's a kids movie, but also kind of like it does the Shrek thing really well, where it's kind of like, I don't know, like we are happy with literally anyone that's interested in
Mhm.
us, in like our sense of humor and our animation and our music and us being weird, and us making like tiny little or like really large like references. I think that was awesome. Also, like the very end of the movie where you see like, can I spoil something? It's not even like the end. It's like they have like Shredder, so potentially there's gonna be like another movie coming out. So I thought that was really
Wow,
cool.
Matt, you pointed out that Shredder's going to be in a Ninja Turtles movie.
Exactly, exactly. But nah, dude, two thumbs up to just
Biggest surprise in the world, Matt. Biggest surprise.
yeah, like it's like flip the table.
Which
Yeah, nah,
honestly, I respect this movie for not having Shredder as the main villain in the first movie in this series and shaking it up. And I love the mutants. Like Ice Cube was so good as Superfly. And then yeah, brah. Paul Rudd was so much fun. You have like John Cena and Seth Rogen as Bebop and Rocksteady. Just so many great like Natasha Demetrio from What We Do in the Shadows. Nadja was like the Bat. It's
mm,
just there's such a pitch perfect voice cast, and Jackie Chan was
as as
amazing
Splinter,
as
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Splinter. And him being like a worried dad and also teaching them martial arts from silly 90s VHS was the funniest thing. Just this movie is hands down the best Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie they've made. Like I love watching the first one and Secret of the Ooze, but like they're not like great movies. This is a legitimately great movie.
Mm.
And they were actual teenagers, which was actually pretty refreshing. Instead of like middle age, like 30-year-old dudes in turtle costumes.
Exactly, exactly.
My number eight is American Fiction.
American Fiction. That's also on my list, but in a different spot. In a
Well,
very
we're
different
putting
spot.
it.
Yeah.
So, Matt, what's your number seven?
Number seven is a movie called Joyride. I don't know how well that did in
Yes, it
theaters.
did no money.
No
And it's
money.
a
Okay.
shame because I remember seeing Paige and I went to go see a month early press screening of this, and
Hmm.
I laughed so damn hard
Right?
watching this movie.
Dude, it was okay. So you know how bad I am at actors' names. So it was awesome getting to see. There's a couple people from Crazy Rich Asians,
Yep.
and then also there's one person from Everything Everywhere All at Once. I was actually one of the. She was
Yeah,
actually one of
Stephanie Shu.
the. Yeah. Let me see. So many like
Yeah,
awesome
because
like
it's
characters.
Ashley Park is like the main character. Sherry Cola, I want to see in more stuff because she's Lolo. She's like the she's the like
The awkward one.
she's so Ashley Park's the main character,
Yeah.
and Sherry Cola plays her really sexual and like crazy best friend,
Oh, the other one. Got you.
and then Sabrina Wu as Deadeye. Deadeye is one of my favorite supporting characters in any comedy this year. They're so good, so good.
That movie. It did everything that like it did things that I didn't even expect or like ask it to do, and it did it like perfectly. There was that random like musical like that rap, whatever the hell they were
Oh, that
doing. That
K-pop video was
yeah,
so great.
the lyrics in that were almost kind of like making the style. I don't know. That was great. I thought the screenplay, like overall, was really interesting because it hit the beats of it being serious, and it also hit the beats of kind of like discussing kind of like it's like I don't say like race relations, but just kind of like introspection on like who you are and who you have been and like who you want to be, and maybe kind of like your allegiance to like your family and versus kind of like also like the family that you kind of like find versus the
Yeah.
family like your family of origin. There's a lot of really interesting like cool things that aren't corny or aren't preachy. Because at the end of the day, it's like its DNA is a comedy, but there are
Yeah.
like so many awesome things that kind of like make this movie just like that much more rich. And I need to watch the movie again. I should have
I'd
seen
be
it
down to
twice.
watch it again because it's
Ooh,
such a fun
yes.
time.
Yeah, great movie, great
And
Joyride.
by the
Excellent.
end, there's some really great emotional beats too that got me. I'm
Mhm.
like, this movie's getting me now. It made me laugh this whole entire time. And it's unabashedly raunchy. Like, it goes to some places.
Yeah.
Whether
There's a
it's
one
drugs or
shot of like,
sex.
well, actually, I'm not even gonna say it. I was about to say, yeah, no, I'm not gonna say. I'll just say there's one very creative and wild shot. You know what I'm talking about with the tattoo?
Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah.
This movie's this movie is like goes crazy on the rails. Like it's
Mm,
swinging all around. It's so much fun. And now for something completely different. My number seven is the Teacher's Lounge.
what was that
And
about?
this is about a passionate, like upstart young teacher who there's stuff being stolen in the school and like her classroom and stuff like that. And she opens up a can of worms that causes a whole bunch of like accusations that cause a whole bunch of problems. This is Germany's selection for international film. And basically, Leonie Bench, who plays Carla, the main character, gives one of my favorite performances of this year. And this film captures like the small town school politics of everything so earnestly. And there's so much tension that's built up in such an unexpected setting of just like this is like a elementary school and like a middle school. And there's so much going on here of like backstabbing and manipulation. And this it shows like how quickly situations can spiral out of control and like the damage and the ripples and the ramifications of people's actions in situations like this can adversely affect so many different people. This is such a fascinating and impactful film, and this is like an hour and 38-minute lean drama here. And it'll make you really rethink a lot of things like working in workplace too
Mm.
and like engaging with your coworkers and tensions and stuff like that. There's a lot going on in this film, and there's some great performances. Definitely something that's really flown under the radar. I don't think it's gonna get there in terms of like being one of the nominees for international film. I wish it was though, obviously.
What's the name of it again?
The Teacher's Lounge.
And what you said it was Germany?
Yep.
I don't know anything about this movie. Never heard of it until literally a minute ago. But A, that sounds awesome. B, for anyone watching slash for you, Shane, there's this movie I really want to. Sorry, it's this TV show. I think it's like 3 seasons or 4 seasons. I really want to say Denmark. I might be a lie. Um, but there's this really awesome show called Rita on Netflix, and it's about a teacher who you'd be surprised out, and it's mostly it's a dramedy, but it is fantastic. Like it's I don't want to get too deep into it, but if you I think that you would like that show based on what you said about Teachers Lounge. And anyone else that's watching, please definitely watch Rita.
Well, there you
Also,
go. Now you
you
have
have to
two
have it.
things to go on our
No,
watch list.
exactly. Fantastic, fantastic.
Matt, what is your number six?
Number 6 is Across the Spider-Verse. That movie was great. Again, really awesome soundtrack. I think
Mhm.
my favorite songs on that soundtrack are Let's go with Home, Hummingbird, and there's another one that it's like escaping me, but I was like listening to that like yesterday. In any event, fantastic. I really like music, but fantastic story. Also, a really mature story. Like to go
Mhm.
from like, okay, so we are a superhero movie to we are actually a superhero movie, but also we are getting like very, very meta. And if you blink, then you're going to miss it. If you don't know what the word canon means, you're gonna have to look it up after the movie because we are not really
It's a
kind of like
canon
slowing down.
event.
Yeah, like that was, and also like I'll like, just like anyone else, like I'll watch anything that oh, what was the character's name? Is Miguel O'Hara, I think. What's the actual Oscar Isaac?
Hmm.
Yeah, like, obviously I watch anything that he does. But yeah, no, all the cast that came from the last movie, fantastic. Shamik Moore and
Haley
yeah,
Steinfeld.
there we go. You know how I feel about the names. It's hard to remember. What else? I thought that the animation was even went further somehow. So it shocked me that it went further in terms of it being kind of like them just kind of like saying like, no, this is how we are going to tell our story visually. And like the colors all like kind of like the whole like screen going from like bright oranges and pinks to blues and purples when someone is feeling sad, or
Mhm.
kind of like when like you can tell how like maybe like certain things become like distorted and that meaning something. I don't know. It was great. It was great to like to watch. It was great to listen to, and I'm incredibly excited for the next movie to come out. I thought that cliffhanger. I
Beyond
actually
the
I
Spider-Verse.
hated the what was that movie Infinity War. I remember when I watched that in the theater. Like, I watched that movie twice in theaters. I was pissed off each time. This cliff, I don't know why. There's something wrong. Whatever. But this cliffhanger, I was like, yeah, I'm ready to see it. I'm ready to see the next one. Give it to
Honestly,
me.
that was the biggest draw. The like, mainly the only drawback for me is I don't like how this movie ended. Like,
Interesting.
it feels really cheap in terms of like it didn't feel like I felt like where the film ends with Gwen is perfect.
Hmm.
I feel like they didn't really stick the landing exactly where this should have ended for Miles. Like, honestly, I felt like it should have ended like a couple minutes before. And I feel like, because the tricky thing is, if you're going to have something that's this continuing story, there has to be some kind of closure for I feel like there's complete closure for Gwen Stacy on her journey in this film. I feel like there's a moment for Miles slightly before the end of this movie where I feel like that is the emotional beat that this should have ended on, and it still has a little hook of oh my god, what's going to happen next. I feel like it just went a couple beats too far for me, where I feel like that should have been where the next movie started. But besides that, this movie was perfect. Like, this movie is incredible visually, and it does not feel like this is just another superhero film. There's so much depth here, and that final scene with Gwen and her dad just like melted. Even the moment with Miles and his mom
That
melted.
was the best. That was the best scene of the movie. And like when she said, "I need you to take care of, I need you to take care of like my little boy," like that was
Yep.
that was impactful. I don't. I have to imagine that any parent watching that scene probably like hopefully broke down at least a little bit.
And
Yeah.
like Jason Schwartzman, great villain. I
Mm,
did not expect where that was going to shake out. And Oscar Isaac, for the most part, he's a great antagonist too,
mm.
where he fits into all of this. And it's such a fascinating exploration of multiverse and comic book continuity and where these characters fit into things. And also, you can't be a comic book fan and not enjoy the whole entire Spider Person like society thing and like Daniel Kaluuya and all the other spider people or spider trucks and other
T-Rex.
T-Rex,
Yeah.
everything else.
Mm,
Crazy. I Joe was having a moment because I
mm,
saw that with them. Um,
fantastic.
my number six is John Wick Chapter 4,
Yeah.
arguably the greatest action movie, period. This movie
Interesting. So
is,
you're a big Keanu fan. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people do not give Keanu Reeves enough credit for what he brings to these movies. Because here's the thing, purposefully, John Wick is not a talker. Like Keanu Reeves admitted he cut out three-fourths of the lines of dialogue that he was supposed to have in this movie.
Hmm.
Like the whole negotiation scene was so much longer, except then we got gun and dawn. And that's all you needed. John Wick doesn't need to talk a lot. There's so much emotional depth in this film that I feel like a lot of people don't give it enough credit for. That scene in the church with him and Kane, Donnie Yen's character, very little dialogue, but there's so much being said there in terms of faith and grief. And I'm just like, why is John Wick pushing like these deep themes in a meaningful and impactful way while also having that stairway scene, having that overhead shot of incendiary shotgun shells just straight murking everybody. The the car chase around the circle, and that's all one sequence. There are three main sequences in this film. That was it the Kyoto Continental at the beginning? I'm trying to
Yeah,
keep
beginning, yeah.
I keep forgetting which Japanese city it is. That sequence should earn this movie an Oscar for cinematography. This movie is gorgeous, and just the depth of this dynamic with him and Hiroki Sanada and Donnie Yen give Kane his own movie because this is one of the best supporting characters that got introduced in any movie this year.
Oh yeah, dude, like the doorbell thing, like getting stuck to
Mhm.
walls, so he realizes when like somebody's like walking up behind him, he just like
It's
turns around and shoots them.
He
That
is
was great.
the coolest. Donnie Yen
Yeah.
is the coolest. That
Mm,
fight between him and Hiroki Sanada, chef's kiss.
mm,
Reina Sawayama, who now I love her music too, who plays Akira, his daughter, so good. That whole entire sequence is amazing. The whole Berlin thing with one of the most fun antagonists you're gonna find in a movie this year, Killa with his grills, and the fact that that was Scott Atkinson, world-renowned martial artist in a fat suit, just straight up having this crazy ass fight with John Wick in the middle of this crazy club. It's just this movie's insane. And I never felt bored once in the 3 hours. And you just had these sprinklings of, Lawrence Fishburne come in and just drop in some amazing one-liners. And Ian McShane. And there's some like real big emotional moments too, like with Chiron. That hit. And then it also hits harder too because what happened to Lance Reddick as well. And Bill
yeah.
Skarsgård is a piece of shit. And he is so good as the antagonist, the Grand Marquis in this. And even like Clancy Brown as like the representative of the high table. Just like perfect. The casting is perfect. The action is some of the best action you're going to see in any movie ever. It's just Chad Stahelski has created an art of reimagining what action movies can be. And between this and George Miller and Mission Impossible, we're in the golden age of action movies. Now I'm done.
Yeah,
Let
I
it
can't
all out.
disagree. Yeah, I can't disagree with anything you said, man. It's a
And
fantastic movie.
John Wick's story should end
You
with how
want
this movie ended.
honestly, I could go for one. I could go for one more because
Matt,
I wanted a Matrix reunion. I wanted like
I want
Carrie
Carrie Ann Moss back in this.
I
Yes,
wanted I
100%.
wanted him to like walk through kind of like I had in my mind I imagined him walking through like a huge like double doors and someone sitting on a throne and it being like Carrie Ann Moss and then she's like the
If
leader of the high table or something like that and
if
then
they
yeah
do John Wick Chapter 5, she better be in it. But
hell yeah
here's the thing.
yeah
Narratively, it should end. Am I going to complain if they make another? No. So that's where I'm at. Matt, what's your number five?
number five another movie that me and probably two other people saw Blackberry. That movie was fantastic. Did you ever see
I think a
Blackberry?
lot more people saw Blackberry than you're giving credit, Matt.
Yeah.
And yes, I did see Blackberry, and I can never look at Dennis the same ever again.
Oh, with the
Glenn
yeah.
Howerton or Jay
Dude,
Baruchel for that matter.
also that, yeah, dude. So one of the, I think it was the director of the movie who's also an actor. I might be wrong.
Yeah, he's the best friend who's also toxic.
Yeah, he like I think like wrote and directed this movie called
Yep.
Dirty that came out when we were in college, and I love that movie. I have it on DVD because he was like putting out kind of like a special. Well, never mind. There's a whole other thing. The Dirties, a very hard subject matter. Has a that has like a lot of like heavy stuff going on in that movie, but fantastic. Seen it multiple times. Recommend it to everyone that likes movies. In this movie, it is as good as things like Steve Jobs from like Aaron Sorkin or what's like another like like a business movie that's also like biography. I don't know, whatever. This movie's fantastic. I
Not
thought,
quite the social network, but
yeah, like from beginning to end, I was riveted watching a story play out on something that I could not care less. And I
like
was alive
a
for when all these things were
BlackBerry.
playing out. Who's thinking about BlackBerry in 2024? I guess yeah, that's which is the issue. But yeah, dude, fantastic. Like the whole like what it says about like friendship and what it says and how it depicts kind of like you losing yourself
Mhm.
and you like and have in this the thought where it's kind of like we all went into this as friends and just kind of like we didn't even care about like they becoming like famous. We just kind of wanted just to I don't know. We just wanted to take this thing that we love and just make it a living, and how that due to outside forces and also just kind of like internal like personal BS and like interpersonal BS, how that can kind of like pervert that dream and then it kind of like falls to pieces. So that's like tale as old as time, yeah, but also it's just a really great movie, which is the reason why
Love
it's not
the
side.
camera push office reaction shots
Mm,
throughout the movie,
mm,
especially from like the friend. Which
mm.
that's so interesting is Jay Baruchel's character is pulled in two different directions by two very toxic people.
And yeah, because you would think, I feel like many other stories would kind of like they wouldn't very intentionally show that the friend also isn't the greatest. Like
He's
they were kind of like
manipulative.
yeah, like they would kind of say like businessman bad. Like
Yep.
no, it's kind of like people who are manipulative. They're all bad. Even the people that have been in your circle for forever, which is
Mhm.
also interesting and a good life lesson.
And Glenn Howerton really showed something else here. When he's screaming, he's both hilarious and scary at the same time.
Mm,
And like him yelling on the phone, that payphone, that scene when all the
mm.
Blackberries won't work, that was amazing. That was so good. I'm trying to remember what his line was, but I laughed so hard at the theater.
Does he do?
Um,
Does he act in anything else? I know besides the show that he's on, but like, what else has he done? Or that's just like,
well, he's been in It's Always Sunny, in
yeah.
Bio, which is a great show that he was on for 4 seasons that never got the attention that it deserved. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think. He's popped up in a couple of things. I remember seeing him in like a pretty small budget film. I'm trying to remember what the name of it was. It had Joe Manganiello in it, I'm pretty sure. But like, I don't think anything like too big. But I really hope that he starts getting like branching out because like, Charlie Day does his stuff, Rob McElhenney does his stuff, Danny DeVito's Danny DeVito. Even Caitlin Olsen was in like um that movie with Woody Harrelson and the special needs basketball team and stuff, Champions. So like even she has some stuff. So my number five, The Boy and the Heron.
Interesting. Okay, break it
Love
down.
me some Miyazaki, and this is a beautiful ass movie. This is such a gorgeous film. That opening sequence is so intense and just tears you up. And I love the fact that Miyazaki refuses to like shy away from like the really dark stuff that happens in life, like these fire bombings of Japan during World War II and the ramifications of it. And like this has a very relatable story of like mixed families and like coming to grips with like the loss of your mother and being accepting of the new woman in your life because of your father. It has parakeets with meat cleavers and stuff like that. So like it has everything. There's a this gets wild. This birdland that you wind up going into, this heron. Matt, did you see this?
Yeah, I saw it.
Did you see the dubbed or the subbed?
I saw the subs. I know that the dub had like a lot of like Ghibli movies. Like the English dub has like
As
a huge
Robert
amount of really
Pattinson
cool.
as the
Yeah,
heron,
exactly. Like the cat.
Batista as like the king of the parakeets. I know Mark Hamill's in it and stuff like that. Willem Dafoe. I saw the sub too. Like
Oh,
the
okay.
heron has such a creepy voice, and it's such a amazing fantasy world, and the themes that it captures, and it's just such a beautiful film. And Hayao Miyazaki is one of the greatest filmmakers, like period, let alone just animation. And I'll keep accepting him making things. If he retires after this, good for him, because he came out of retirement to do this. So I don't know. It seems like he's going to make some more films, but like this is my top animated film of the year, and this is going to be the fight between this and Across the Spider Verse. And the thing is, they're both equally beautiful films in very different ways and take animation in very different ways. Because, like, this is very, like, classic anime. Like, this is, like, Miyazaki's not doing anything particularly new or inventive here in terms of, like, the art form. But the story that it tells has that emotion. I fell in love with this crazy fantasy world that you get lost in. And then Spider-Verse is one of the most inventive and bold animated films. I think it'll be a very interesting telling point of like where the Academy is in terms of animation, depending on which one gets this. All I care about is these two are obviously going to get nominated. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles should. Um, Nimona probably should. And
Mm.
what's the other one that? Um, there's actually been a lot of great animated films this year. A lot of them that flew under the radar, but I'm glad to see both Spider Verse and Boy and the Heron are getting some. They're kind of splitting the awards right now, so good for them.
That's cool, cool.
But Matt, what's your number four?
Number four is May December. So this movie is on Netflix. This
Mhm.
movie is a hard watch when because the subject matter is
Mhm.
hard in itself, kind of like that TV show that came out like last year, like a teacher or a teacher story or something like that. It was on Hulu.
With
No,
Kate Mara.
Yeah, and then the guy from the first Jurassic World movie, one of the teenagers that's now an adult. Uh, I'll just say that I think that the the man who I think was on some CW show or something, uh, who plays,
Charles Mountain.
yeah, that guy should be getting a lot more attention for what he does in that movie. There's a kind of like a, I don't want to call it like chewing the scenery. 'Cause I feel like that's just like people kind of like screaming and yelling. But there is a scene where he kind of has to like emote like a lot, like a lot.
Mhm.
But but like the physicality of that scene and what he chooses to do, that he chooses to act like a child. That like the direction was to act like a child being upset or kind of like feeling embarrassed while being chewed out by by an adult, even though it's a grown man talking to a very obviously like manipulative like other adult, but obviously just like who's much older than him. I thought that was like fantastic. I think that the fact that it was two different kinds of people preying on his trauma,
Mhm.
like one I see it I'm not even gonna kind of split it both because of like self-interest. Like I think that was like very interesting, even though one of them, like Natalie Portman's character, thinks that she's just doing it for her craft.
Yep.
um so that's kind of the way that she's like
What
justifying.
a interesting perspective on actors.
Yeah,
This
because it's kind of
film.
like, hey, you were kind of a parasite a little bit, right? Yeah, dude, fantastic movie. Uncomfortable. I kind of wish the only thing that I wish is that it was longer. I wish that we got to see kind of like the aftermath of that movie, like that movie within the movie that we're watching. I would kind of wish I
Mhm.
got to see like what happened after that. Um, but yeah, no, this movie, I feel like it's on like a lot of like top 10 lists that I've seen. I think it's great, and yeah, definitely. Yeah. What did you think when you were watching it?
Oh, I thought it was hilarious using the like obnoxious like Lifetime movie like score that they were using to really set up this mood that Todd Haynes was doing. I think Charles Mountain's in a really tight spot because like he has to go toe to toe with Robert Downey Jr. this award
Mm.
season, and I don't think anything's stopping the RDJ train right now. But he would deserve a lot of credit for what he does in this role as a stunted adult who's still really a child at heart because he's never been given the opportunity to really grow up because of the trauma that Julianne Moore's character still puts on him because she's just been this looming presence in his life since he was a kid. And just that dynamic is so uncomfortable. And, this obviously this stuff really happens because it's all over the news and stuff like that. And this is a very interesting perspective, especially when like somebody coming in who's so selfish in terms of like, I'm doing this for my role. And the more I get out of all of you, the better my performance is going to be. And the shitstorm that she stirs up between these people, it's messed
Dude,
up.
when she when she and Charles character, the guy's character, make a certain decision and to do something, and then afterwards he was like, "Hey, so like, what did that mean?" And she says, "Oh, that's just what grown-ups do." Like that was like, I don't even think the word is like chilling. It was kind of like it was like
Kind of.
disgust. It was kind of like disgusting. It was like,
Mhm.
ah, like
Yeah.
you are like you are not again. You used him.
Mhm.
Stop using this guy. Like I want this guy to win.
I thought this was a fascinating movie,
Yeah,
and
no, great.
it certainly is a really uncomfortable experience.
Yeah.
My number four is Killers of the Flower Moon.
Ah, gotcha, gotcha,
Mar-
gotcha.
Martin Scorsese, 3.5 hour Western epic, focusing on the some of the most deplorable things white people have done to Native people in this country. And I know there's a lot of conversations about the perspective of this film, which is very interesting because like I've read the book. The book's amazing. And they spend a lot of time focusing on the perspective of Molly in the book, a lot of time on the perspective of White, the FBI agent in the book, and almost nothing on Ernest.
Because isn't the FBI agent, or at least one of them, isn't that person also like Native American or something like that?
Well, no, so like the main character is like former Texas Ranger, like Jesse Plemons' character is one of like the main characters in the book.
Who am I thinking? There was one of like the like the law enforcement people like was a Native American person. Maybe I'm making that up. Never mind. Don't worry about it. Yeah, don't worry about it.
But I feel like Martin Scorsese told this film in the most Martin Scorsese way, which is showing the how disturbing the possibility of like white people can do, and specifically what men can do. And I feel like I don't think that perspective made a whole lot of people happy that he chose to tell it that way. But I don't think Martin Scorsese could really tell it from a different perspective. Because, like, if this were like an Osage filmmaker, this would have been more focused on Molly. But Martin Scorsese made it. And basically, this film is a towering just representation of how greed and manipulation can warp people and the horrors that they can do upon people. Because, like, we're introduced to Ernest and Leonardo DiCaprio is killing it as a pretty simple dude who honestly just wants to get some money, wants to get a wife. And Robert De Niro, I would say, is giving the best performance of his career since Heat, to be perfectly honest. This and The Irishman are like the two performances since then that are really up there. And he is haunting and chilling and evil. And just this dark manipulation and this twisted perspective on like how somebody who says that they love somebody and is doing this for their family can be so easily manipulated by powerful men and money and cause such harm and destruction. And that's unfortunately a big part of our American story because a lot of men have been warped by those more powerful men and by money to do some horrific things in our country. And that's what this film portrays. And it takes that perspective, and it's a really harsh perspective, but it's the same thing as Taxi Driver and King of Comedy and Goodfellas and Wolf of Wall Street, except with a really unfortunate story of what we did to the Osage people. And this is a one of the most interesting true crime stories that I've read. And the way that Scorsese just captures this epicness of this story, and from his direction to Rodrigo Prieto's cinematography to Robbie Robertson's score, which is this is his last score. He passed away earlier in 2023 before this was released. And just Leonardo DiCaprio and De Niro are great, but Lily Gladstone kills it, and you feel so much for Molly in this film. And this is just such a pitch perfect, like all the native actors and non-actors in this film do such amazing work. And this is a bone-chilling experience. And I saw this in the theater and did not feel antsy once in the 3.5 hours. Scorsese knows how to make a film. And this really blew me away. I do think it would be very interesting to see Molly's story told by an actual like Osage creator. But like if somebody was going to tell this story and show the horrible crimes of what white men have done in this country, Martin Scorsese's done that plenty of times and he did a great job telling this one too.
It's very cool. Very cool.
Did you go and see this in the theater and sit there for 3.5 hours?
I didn't wanna. I'm not. I don't want to run.
It's on Apple
There's
TV
certain
Plus
things I
now,
want to
Matt.
say, but also I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to be. I don't. I don't want to be like a rain cloud. So I'll just go. So I'll just go like, yeah, super cool, man. Super cool.
Well, you know what? This is on Apple TV Plus now.
Maybe
This
I'll watch it in your living room at some point.
well, here's the thing. If this winds up getting voted for the Oscar marathon that I'm going to be doing, I have a sinking feeling it might. I'm just waiting for this and Oppenheimer to get voted, and it'll be 6.5 hours of just watching those back to back.
Oh man,
Matt,
Oppenheimer.
what's your number three?
Oppenheimer. Let's go with Godzilla -1.
I have a quick question. Are you going to be seeing Godzilla -1 minus color?
You know what? I heard about that, but I really like the color in this movie. Like,
Fair?
I don't know. There's something. Okay, so first I'll back up. When the trailer first came, I don't even know when the trailer came out, but it came out a while ago, and I remember thinking like, "Whoa, this is like intense." Because the majority of the trailer, yeah, like the majority of the trailer was like it was in it was from the scene, at least like the action parts. It was in the scene where he's kind of like first walking around walking around like on land, like in his like actual form. I'm not gonna spoil what that means. But yeah, that I was like, okay, so obviously I'm gonna watch that because I liked Godzilla ever since I was a little kid, and the movie didn't disappoint. This movie had incredible performances, especially
Mhm.
like when things get like very, very sad. Like there's this one scene where this man is just like crying, like your main character is like crying out because what he thought just happened to him, like his entire world is like shifted in the span of like 2 minutes. It's just like his whole life just went like boop, just it's like everything like gone. I thought that how like that scream and like that cry that was something. I also liked like who couldn't who doesn't like if you like Godzilla, how could you not like the design of this specific Godzilla and the fact that like his atomic breath actually it doesn't just kind of like set things on fire or kind of like cut buildings in half, but it literally like it turned like when the atomic breath hits something, it turns into its own kind of like nuclear blast. Like that was huge. It was wild. I saw. I wish I remember the name of the YouTube channel, but the director uh was kind of like guest appeared on this really cool YouTube channel where these friends slash VFX artists kind of like talk about movies and like oh well this is actually how they did that scene in that movie or this other thing. So the director of this movie actually did a lot of of like the visual effects, which is also like really interesting. Um,
For
just
like
I don't know.
nothing. This movie cost
Yeah,
like $13 million.
yeah, that and the movie looks great. Like in my opinion, it was great. I feel like I'm missing. There are two moments I won't spoil, but there are two moments that actually like, brought me to tears. I thought that was fantastic in a Godzilla movie. Um, this is very different than Shin Godzilla. Because
Yeah.
Shin Godzilla, because there were like parts of that was like funny and parts of that were also like, kind of serious. But this is like a very, very, very serious movie. This is a war film that has conversations about uh pride for your country versus like disappointment in your country. This has conversations about uh being a soldier and having kind of like anyway, what exactly does that mean and kind of like redemption uh, in the eyes of I don't know. It talks about like a lot of different things. I thought the script was like the way that the script was like written. I thought it was like very rich in that way. Like I like kind of like movies that I can like it on multiple. Well, everyone likes movies that you can like it on multiple levels, and it
Yeah.
kind of almost makes you want to just like research and like, oh, so like, that offhanded line, like, what exactly did that mean? Like, what's like the actual like historical basis for what that person just said in the film? But yeah, no, fantastic movie, Godzilla -1. Incredibly excited for there to be more Godzilla -1 sequels. Uh, yeah, I think
Godzilla movies where I care about the human beings.
who knew?
And that the human
Who
beings
knew?
were as interesting as what's going on with Godzilla.
Yeah.
Uh
Who?
Warner Brothers needs to learn a thing or two. Because like this, I cared about these characters. I felt for these characters. And this movie looks amazing for like $13 million. And that opening sequence is horrifying. Like this
Mm.
is straight like a horror movie. And I love the fact that they use a like an updated version of just like the original Godzilla roar and the score because na 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 that is Godzilla. That is Godzilla right there. And his nuclear blast, my jaw dropped in the theater because it was like a dark theater and just the beam and the literal mushroom cloud and the impact. I was just like,
And then the secondary impact too, because it goes like, and then it goes back in. Yeah.
it was nuts. I did not expect that, and just the damage that that did, I just floored. I
Mm.
was just blown away by this movie. Because here's the thing, Matt, I've seen like 780 movies this year, and Godzilla minus one's 28. So like that's pretty damn good.
Yes.
So perspective. My number three is Poor Things.
Interesting. Okay. That is a very normal, very not off kilter movie.
Yep.
So many familiar beats.
Yep.
Yeah, it was just it was boring actually.
This is the wildest movie out right now in theaters. This strange concoction of Frankenstein and Pinocchio and feminist teachings and sex positive exploration is one of the craziest things I've seen. Yorgos Lanthimos is a mad scientist of movies. And the like weird fisheye camera angles and like all the Yorgos Lanthimos isms in its filmmaking, the steampunk aesthetic with this like strange alternate history world that we're in, the score, which is one of the strangest, most off kilter scores that you're going to find. The costuming's amazing. Emma Stone, I'm not kidding. This might be one of the best performances I've seen from an actor, period. What she did in this film, this evolution of like, she was acting like a legit infant and toddler at the beginning of this film and such an authentic and annoying way because, they can be and just the all the details of like how her walk changes throughout the film, how her posture changes throughout the film, how she speaks throughout the film, whether it's the pitch of her voice, whether it's the pacing of how she says things, every little thing is evolving through every scene in this film. Like the amount of detail that went into this performance is insane. And she's hilarious and she is relatable and interesting. And Willem Dafoe as Godfrey, so
Mm.
good. Mark Ruffalo, though, is this is the most unhinged performance of and such a perfect representation of like fragile masculinity, like embodied in a human being, and just like the snooty little looks, the mustache, the man baby tantrums, and just everything. I like really enjoyed Rami Youssef as well in this film too. He like by the end, Jess kept calling him a king
Mm.
because like how supportive and everything he was of her, and just the evolution of like it has Freud in it, whether you like that or not. It's she's going from like the id to the ego, super ego throughout this film, how she's evolving. So there's Freud layers to it. There's like these parallels to Frankenstein and Pinocchio going on. I did a whole entire in-depth spoiler review with Haley. She brought a lot of interesting feminist teaching perspectives to it and what this film is trying to do. There's just so many layers to this unhinged and crazy movie. And like I laughed so hard throughout this movie. It was the weirdest movie, and it is one of the most sex positive things I think I've ever seen in a movie. And that whole entire sequence where she's a sex worker and
That was wild. That was absolutely
wild.
unhinged. That was unhinged. Unhinged.
The part where that guy brings his two sons and the one son's just like sitting there like this and the other one's taking notes.
Yeah, that is a wild movie, man. I think it's interesting because I remember the first movie that I saw of Lanthimos was A Dog Tooth, and I think that was when we were either in high school or college, and like a bunch of people like online were saying this movie. Actually, I think I got it recommended it from watching a YouTube channel that isn't even like a thing anymore. What the flick? I guess now it's kind of breakfast
It's
all day,
breakfast all
but
day.
yeah, but before it was what the flick.
Yep.
It's kind of interesting. Even had one of the Rotten Tomatoes. Well, never mind. But
Yeah, Matt Atchity, Ben
yeah,
Mankiewicz. Yeah.
yeah. I I was like, wow, that after I finished watching the movie, I was like, that is the weirdest thing I have ever seen. And this guy's filmography has, whether or not you like him, like it has been unflinchingly him.
Yep.
Like Killing of a Sacred Deer, The Favorite. I feel like The Favorite is probably like,
His
and
most
that movie's
accessible.
all, yeah, most accessible, and that movie is still really weird. Even like
Yeah.
the ending, that was like, what the hell? But yeah, it's Poor Things is like a very interesting. I don't even know the amount of I don't even know who I could even like recommend in my personal life who I'd recommend that movie to. Like, hey, watch Poor Things. Um, yeah, but if Lanthimos is your cup of tea, or if just kind of like being up to date with like film conversation, like from year to year, if that's kind of like a thing that you're interested in, then anybody watching this video that you and I are making, give it a try. Give it a try. It's only 2 hours, right? It doesn't go over the 2 hour mark, right? I don't
I
feel
think
like
it's
it does.
215, something
Oh,
like
okay.
that.
Oh, okay.
This is very European. Let's just put that out there. Like it is very flippantly sexual in a very European kind of way. With all of us Americans like, oh my God, there's breasts. But John Wick's okay. Because violence, we love violence. But Matt, what's your number two?
Well, number two, again, movie has great music in it. The soundtrack is on Spotify. It was like, I don't know, love it. It was Barbie. Barbie, my number two film of the year. Barbie,
Hi, Barbie.
hey Ken or Alan. Okay. So Barbie, how can I how can I abbreviate like all my thoughts? I think that I I think I've seen it like 2 times or 3 times, I think.
I'm up to three.
You up to three? Yeah. Like so it's funny. It's
Yeah.
funny all throughout. I don't know what's like the best joke, but probably one of my favorite jokes is that tiny little like fake commercial. We're talking about kind of
Fresh and
like new and
Barbie.
improved, yeah, like a new and improved Barbie that has depression, but panic attacks and OCD not included. I don't know, something like that. Like, so many awesome tiny little jokes. Also, when Barbie and the rest of the Barbies realize that kind of like what is it when you like how they awaken the other Barbies out of that state of servitude by kind of like
Telling it like it
counteract
is.
yeah, like counteracting the mansplaining and all the
Yeah.
other BS with kind of like the actual like reality of like how the world works, unfortunately, and like historically against women. Like that was so smart and so interesting. I was like, damn, Barbie, this is a dope as hell movie. And then
Can we sit
I am
down and watch The Godfather and you explain it to me?
Oh, dude. And then literally my whole brain was like, I had to do like a scan of like for my entire life. I was like, wait, have I been that guy? Oh crap. They're not calling me out. They can't be calling me out. Or that I am like the Ken song.
I'm
The
just Ken.
do the visuals of that and like
It's one of the
and
best musical numbers I've ever seen in a movie.
it keeps escalating more and more and more. And he's
Matt,
like,
are
him
you
and
enough?
Leo, I am Ken enough. I wanted looking for like a T-shirt that said Ken enough, and I was like, actually, that might be kind of like doing overboard. But yeah, no,
It's
dude,
not. You should buy it.
fantastic. I should,
I'm gonna buy it for you.
and I'll buy you, and then we'll we'll walk around like twins. Um, but yeah, no, but dude, fantastic movie. There's a very there's so many reasons why. Like obviously, Super Mario Brothers made $1 billion because it's colorful.
And
Like I think,
it's fun, it's easy, and Jack Black's in it.
yeah, but like Barbie made $1 million, kind of like the reason why Joker, odd comparison, but the same reason why Joker kind of like made $1 billion, and that's because like it touched something
Mhm.
in like
Society.
yeah, like society in like a and it touched something multiple times, very very uncomfortably, but then also like in a palatable way, but also sometimes not, and not very much so because you have to look too hard to see kind of like really like overtly sexist breakdowns on YouTube of why like Barbie kind of was like spelling the downfall of like manly men and all this other BS.
Okay,
Like it really
Ben
did piss people off.
Shapiro.
Dude, did you see when he took that to the Barbie, the toy, and then threw it on his barbecue? Like what the hell?
Well, let's just all say Ben Shapiro was an idiot and was so wrong because Barbie kept making money. Sorry, Ben. But this movie is so good. I could keep watching it over and over and over again. Margot Robbie is pitch perfect. So perfect in this film. Ryan Gosling is one of the funniest performances I've seen. He's like, sublime! Hi, Barbie. Um, the whole push from Matchbox 20 thing.
Oh, with the musical instruments on the beach, yeah, yeah, yeah. I like internally went like this. I was like, okay, I know for a fact I've never been that guy. So I kind of
Never
did
been
like one
that
of these.
guy.
I was like,
It's just like Excel is so hard. And I'm like, oh God.
yeah, yeah, like Excel, and I think the other one was Photoshop. And I was like, oh my
Yeah,
God.
something like that. Just this movie from start to finish is so hilarious. And yes, the music is amazing. That opening Lizzo song, Pink, where it's like
Mm,
thoughts of dread, thoughts of
mm.
death, where it starts like slowly changing and just like, oh my God. And my number one song of 2023 on Spotify, Dance the Night by Dua Lipa, because I love Dua Lipa and I can listen to that disco song over and over and over and over again, which I have. And then Billie Eilish with her Sad Girl song that just like that scene makes me so emotional. I'm just like, damn this movie. And nothing will get me more than that 2001 A Space Odyssey opening to this movie.
Oh, great, great. I remember watching the trailer. I think that was in the trailer, and I was like,
Yep.
what the hell kind of movie is this? And they were like chattering before the trailer, where it's kind of like, hey, just so you know, like internet, this movie gets like political when in actuality it's just realistic. But yeah,
America
that
Ferrera.
this oh dude, that monologue, fans I saw people like taking that monologue and saying two really interesting monologues about kind of like femininity or maybe more so like patriarchy and having to kind of like deal with like BS. It was like that monologue, and people were comparing it to the Gone Girl monologue, the what it means to be a cool girl.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was also kind of
You
interesting
know,
too. But
Barbie. When I found out the patriarchy didn't have anything to do with horses, I kind of lost interest.
dude, that was like another thing that I feel like a lot of people that were so pissed off at Barbie, the movie, like I don't I thought it was so I thought it showed a lot of like the sensitivity and empathy towards the male characters, where
Yes,
some people on the internet who didn't get it, I think
by
that
the
people
end of
felt
the movie, it's trying to say that doing the complete opposite of what's happening now is just as bad. They're
exactly,
supposed to be meeting in the middle.
dude,
Like,
yeah. Oh,
yeah,
excuse
Barbie's great. And to complete the Barbenheimer, my number two is Oppenheimer.
me.
I've watched this twice now, and this is one of the fastest 3 hour watches that I've had. I saw this on the biggest IMAX screen in the country in the Lincoln Square AMC in New York City. And this is Christopher Nolan's magnum opus. Like, Christopher Nolan has been building up to this point, and Nolan's getting that Oscar for Best Director.
Do
It's,
you want him
it's
to?
oh, he should. It's a done deal. He's getting it.
Mm.
Like, this movie is so impeccably directed. You can like you can say you can say stuff about it, but like you can't take anything away from just the immense technical prowess that went into making this film and his screenwriting in terms of like these parallel stories. This film is told like The Social Network. It's through two depositions weaving together telling this story in a nonlinear way and balancing like the black and white and the color and the perspective of Oppenheimer and Strauss. And I did because like Robert Downey Jr.'s in the trailer for 2 seconds. When you get into this movie and realize how important Lewis Strauss is to this story, and Robert Downey Jr. is giving the performance of his life in this. And Killian Murphy finally got the spotlight he deserved and absolutely killed it. This cast is incredible. Like, you have one of the most stacked casts I've ever seen in a movie. Like, everybody is like a named actor in this. And from Matt Damon to Emily Blunt to Florence Pugh, even Gary Oldman
Mm.
popping up for like 3 minutes. And just everything about this film, from Ludwig Göransson's score to Hoyt van Hoytema's cinematography, and just this is an experience. This is not like any other biopic you're ever going to watch. There's just a feeling about it. There's an atmosphere about it. There's a foreboding nature to it. I I had such existential dread in the final moments of this film. And like that last interaction between him and Einstein that wraps up this film, like I was just sitting there just like in shock. Like how impactful that ending was. And like Christopher Nolan's not wrong when he talked about Oppenheimer as one of the most might be the most important human being ever, because he just may have set off a chain reaction that's going to destroy the world at some point.
Mm.
He gave us, he is the modern Prometheus. He gave us technology that we can will to destroy ourselves. And the weight of this film is just there. And I'm just like, I was in awe of this both times I've watched it. I was really hoping that I wouldn't lose the impact from not watching it in like the most amazing IMAX. But like I watched this at home with my 4K and just this movie still blew me away. So yeah, number two.
Not you. Very cool, very cool. Yeah, I mean it's definitely like an interesting movie, like all throughout. I think that who is who would be Murphy's biggest competition for Best Actor?
Paul Giamatti right now for the holdovers.
Paul Giamatti.
Which he
Who won the
might
Golden Globe?
they both did
Oh
because
yeah,
it's
yeah,
the
actor.
split. But
Yeah.
Paul Giamatti won at the Critics' Choice Awards.
Mm, mm. Did you
So
see
you'll
that
have to
picture of him in
Killian
the
Murphy's definitely winning the BAFTA.
Mm, oh yeah, because they're
because
the British.
he's Irish. So like
Yeah,
he's probably gonna win the BAFTA. It'll be very interesting who winds up winning Best Actor. I think Nolan's definitely winning director. Oppenheimer might win Best Picture. I think Oppenheimer is probably the big favorite to win Best Picture at this point. And there's a lot of the technical awards too, whether it's Ludwig Göransson's score's been a big winner. I don't know if Hoyt van Hoytema would win Best Cinematography or not, but like this has potential to be winning a lot of Oscars.
it was certainly an interesting movie. Definitely an interesting movie. Yeah.
Matt didn't love it.
Uh, but it's okay though. It's okay that I didn't love it. I saw it twice. I saw it twice. Both times it's even if I didn't like the story, like certain aspects of the story, and I when you watch a movie like Oppenheimer, like I don't care if you are a casual movie person that sees like maybe like one movie a month or someone that is like a cinephile with a letterbox account and and has like very specific like feelings about like physical media, like if you're like all the way down to like that kind of person, which is cool.
Talking
Anybody
about
that
me,
watches,
Matt.
yeah, yeah, like anybody that watches Oppenheimer, it's like hopefully it's incredibly obvious that like that's not something that like just like any filmmaker can do. Like that has to be like a that's a feat of someone who multiple people, not just Nolan, like multiple people have to intersect and come together that are at the top of like the tippy top of their game. And it's very obvious like of how much craftsmanship go like went into that movie. Like the story itself, even if you don't connect with the story, maybe because like, or if you do or you don't, like there's so many other aspects to a movie than just kind of like the story. And like I can be moved and marvel at like other things than just maybe kind of like the one thing because a movie isn't just the story. It's like yeah, it's a visual thing. It's a
Well, and
auditory thing.
I
Yeah.
think what's so unnerving to think about is this is one of the most universal stories possible. These were a bunch of men with so much inspiration to create something so powerful that it could literally end our existence, every single human being's existence in a flash. And that's the cold reality of what this film's really about is human hubris and where that takes us.
Yeah, we're definitely good at the hubris thing. We are definitely we're definitely good at that.
Well,
We don't
Matt,
really learn a lot of lessons from that over the years.
I think I know what your number one is.
Oh yeah, I guess yeah, basically like, I was talking about it before. Drum roll, American Fiction. This movie. Oh man, I had wanted to watch this movie for so long, and YouTube kept showing the trailer for so long. And I kept waiting for it to go into like a wider release. And even then when I finally saw it, like I was in like Philly to watch it. Like, I don't it was like a whole thing. Like it
Did
was
you
like
wind
such
up
like a
going to like
slow.
the Bourse or something? Or like,
Actually, yeah, yeah, I think
yeah.
so. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh no, no, it was the Landmark Ritz or
Oh, the
something.
landmark Ritz.
Yeah. Okay, American Fiction. The reason why that's my number one movie of the year is because like I think that the movie is funny consistently. I think that the movie is heartbreaking and sobering consistently, and it goes back and forth with with so much ease. It's a movie. It's a kind of like I think I've said this like a couple of times. Like true art sometimes can be is the kind of art that makes you want to like go home and create your own art. Like I
Mhm.
remember like watching, like listening to how like, people talked in the movie and kind of like how the story kind of unfolded. And I was like, damn, I need to like I want to open up like a blank Google Doc so I can like write this like myself. I think the character, the main character, how he has to grow when he himself very obviously feels as though he is the smartest person in many rooms. I
Mhm.
think that that's kind of interesting, even like in like a in an academic sense, or maybe like his thoughts on his thoughts on like what blackness is or what it or what it needs to like shift to, because his indictment of other people being so narrow-minded and him thinking that I want to that I have like I'm not on the ivory tower. Like I'm just like you, but I'm kind of like trying to tell you about like the truth. But in real like in fact, like he needs Issa Rae's character to be like, hey, I don't think that like your issue actually is an issue. Like you having this idea that things need to only look one certain way, not only is what you are saying other people are doing, but also
Mhm.
like you're doing it in like a condescending way. And it's kind of and also like what did he say in the beginning of the movie? Like I don't see race. And then like right after he says I don't see race, then like a white person kind of like gets a taxi right before him. I thought that was kind of interesting. Like he I don't know. Like he had so much about like life. Him being kind of very obviously like, the person is middle age. Like he has like a lot to grow,
Mhm.
and he has like work to do. And the fact that he hasn't done that work alienates and frustrates like people from him, very specifically like the like that like romantic like character that he was kind of like courting. And I haven't even like touched on like the family dynamic
Yeah.
like stuff in a year that saw like the like the series finale of Succession. To watch adult children in this movie interact in uncomfortable and yet very realistic ways, I was like, damn, I feel like I'm watching like Succession again, except black.
Yeah.
Like, dude,
And you know
it
what's
was
funny is
fantastic.
if Monk wrote that show, it would be Black Session, and it'd be like the biggest show on television.
Yeah, like
And
he,
that's what this movie's about.
yeah, and
It's
then he'd be like pissed off about, yeah, like that.
this.
This movie was great, and it's like it, it, it it's so smart, and it has empathy for every single one of its characters. And there's moments where like a certain character in any like a lesser movie would have been kind of like shortchanged, like that live and made person.
Yeah.
Usually
Oh,
like that person would probably wouldn't even have had a name, and yet that person has like her own story, even at the very end when she says that like, oh, like I never when because she's like moving out of the house, and the main character's like, oh, like do you want your apron? And she's like, I don't want that apron. Like that's I just put that on because that was my job. And he was like, oh wait,
I
yeah, I guess he's more than just her job. Ah, my God.
I in a perfect world, that actress would be nominated for Best Supporting Actress.
Yeah,
She was
right.
that good.
Yeah,
She was that
yeah.
good. This movie is being slept on so hard. And I know a lot of my like film circle friends didn't give this very high ratings. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? Like, this is one of the best written films in recent memory. And I hope it's not the marketing that convinced people that this was only going to be like the joke book that he writes. Because this film is so much more than that. This film has so much depth in the way that, like, and here's the thing, there's elements of Monk that I relate to in my own dynamic with my family. Because in my immediate family, I'm the one with a master's degree. I'm the one that works at a college. I'm the intellectual one. And I can find myself having that kind of looming over my perspective on things. And like seeing how Monk interacts with his family with this judgment from like his throne of judgment because he's the smartest one in the family. He's the genius of the family. And how his family has to knock him down pegs because he really doesn't understand how things work in a normal way. Like him doing petty things like going into a bookstore and trying to move his books around
Mm.
and stuff like that because what you brought up was so interesting about the idea like he's judging the blackness of others for not being the blackness he perceives when he wants people to perceive anything from a black person as blackness. Like he wants his mythology books to be perceived as like these are black books. And that's what really drives him in the first place. That scene of him writing with Keith David
Mm.
was so good. That's one of my favorite scenes in a movie this year. And Jeffrey Wright finally got the leading role to shine in a film. And he is so damn good. I wish this was a lighter year because he's not going to get the real opportunity to like really get that praise that he deserves with like Killian Murphy and Paul Giamatti. I really hope he gets nominated for an Oscar at least because he's so fantastic. Sterling K. Brown is amazing. He is one of the most underappreciated actors working today. Even like Tracy Ellis Ross
Mm.
in like the smaller role. And like there's some shocking things that happen in this movie that I did not see coming. And then you have the whole entire him writing this book and going through this nonsense, but it all fits together in such a great way. Cord Jefferson, I cannot wait to see what he does next because this movie blew me away. And more people need to see it, and more people need to show it some love because this is one of the best films of the year.
Yeah, dude, like anyone that liked this movie, I highly recommend watching the movie and then the TV show Dear White People. The movie is fantastic. Has
Mm.
it's also like very smart, and then the TV show is also like very smart too. I thought that that was great, and I also felt like I love when you have a movie that has like two characters that are very, very opposite. And it's like you're like waiting, you're just like waiting, hoping that like this like the script gets them in a room together so they can interact.
And this movie
Um,
literally gets them in a room together.
that was that was great. It made me think of immediately two things, two very different things. It made me think of that one scene in Fargo a couple of episodes ago in this current season where uh what is it, Jason Lee, Jennifer
Jennifer
Jason
Jason
Lee, and
Lee.
then John Hamm's character. They finally come together, and they're obviously incredibly very different people, and they have like that like ideological like sparring, just talking, just riveting
Oh,
talking.
I don't know
That
if you
was
watched the
great.
finale yet, but
I didn't see the finale. I didn't see the finale yet. But it was like that, and then also I thought of like Heat, like two,
yeah,
like just
that's
kind of like those two people talking. When Issa Rae and Jeffrey Wright when they have that conversation about what is it? Not is it about like potential or like ambition? I'm gonna butcher the line, but I almost like want to like pull out my phone when my phone was off. I almost want to pull out my phone and like type it in because it's like a dope as hell line. But
mhm.
yeah, dude, the whole movie was so great and interesting, and I think that yeah, I feel like it's gonna get kind of like lost in the sand of time, which is unfortunate. But I'm hoping that that movie, I'm hoping that filmmaker, that writer director. Also, I feel like I want to read the book too, and I got to make some time to read the actual book that it's adapted
Mhm.
from. But I feel like that filmmaker, and then also that guy that did a movie with Lakeith's
Boots Riley.
yeah, Boots Riley. Oh my God, those
Sorry to
two
bother
people.
you.
Yeah, like there's a couple of like black filmmakers that are out right now, and they're kind of doing kind of like they're just like they're just being weird. They're just being weird, and
Mm.
it's amazing, and I love it. But yeah, that was my number one. What's your number one, dude?
It is the Iron Claw. This movie,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a rough
I
movie.
I have been warning people for months that this is going to be a depressing movie. Don't let this trick you into thinking this is just some wrestling movie. There is, and those who have seen it have been like, you were 100% correct. I'm like, you're damn right. This film, being a pro wrestling fan, I was really invested in seeing this. The fact that this was an A24 film, like, really? The craft that went into this film, that opening black and white sequence with Fritz von Erich just beating the holy hell out of this man tells you everything that you need to know about this man and the permanent ramifications of his actions towards his sons. Like this film is so much about generational trauma and neglect of a parent and abuse of a parent by a parent on their children. The disgusting dynamic that Fritz von Erich has with his sons, pitting them against each other, just sets this film up to be the tragedy that it is in real life. That so many young men in this family perished trying to get the approval of their father. And this is a dark and disturbing film underneath the surface. And on the surface, it is such a perfect period piece. It's one of the best depictions of the pro wrestling industry in a movie. And it is stacked with amazing performances from Zac Efron giving the best performance of his career. Uh, Jared Allen White just so good as Carrie Von Erich coming off the bear. He's just doing some of the best work around. Harris Dickinson, who plays one of the other brothers, is great. Holt McClenney, who plays Fritz Von Erich. If supporting actor wasn't such a stacked category, he should be up there. He was a monster. And a monster in hiding. Like there's humanity about him just masking over this horrific human being that he was. And just this movie has some great moments. As a pro wrestling fan, there's some things that really grab my attention. And I love the filmmaking and the visual storytelling. There's a reveal that happens about what happens to one of the characters that was set up so perfect. And like I knew it was coming because I knew this whole story, but how Sean Durkin tells this story in this film, and this is emotionally devastating. Like by the end, they're just leaving it all on the floor. And just that moment between some of the brothers towards the end of the film, where this film gets a little bit like less like grounded was such a beautiful thing. And this film really blew me away. And I really hope more people go check it out. But I am warning you, it is very sad and depressing.
It
So
is like it's the kind of movie that's almost like unrelentingly sad, and like a movie that kind of like you would in other movies it would shy away from things, and maybe like another movie would use like shadows or kind of like maybe the camera would like zoom in on like a stack of newspapers and you see like a headline, and that's how it would kind of like show
mhm.
what happened but not actually show what happened. But no, this movie doesn't do that. I'm thinking of someone looking at themselves in a mirror, and I'm also looking at they're thinking about someone after something happened the night before, kind of like going to their fridge, I think, or walking around the
That was
kitchen,
the
like
scene I
whatever.
was referencing. Like
Yeah, like
that
yeah.
reveal was like my jaw dropped. I'm just like just this film gives me like one of the most visceral reactions of pain I've ever experienced watching a film was Hereditary. After a certain something happens to a character, and all you can hear is the reaction. This film has that level of emotional devastation in it. Like,
Mm,
there's moments that just rip your guts out over and over and over again. And what's crazy is they combined two of the brothers.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, like because actually
So like
there's like a
there's
whole
even
different other.
more that
Yeah,
actually happened to this family. So the curse of the Von Erichs. This is how you make us like calling this a sports film feels so weird, but like this is how you elevate a genre like that and offer something so much deeper. And like even the wrestling scenes were so intense, so well choreographed. Shout out to Chavo Guerrero Jr., who's a pro wrestler who did all the choreography and the stunt work for the film and taught all of them how to be pro wrestlers. Like, and they didn't just do like a move and a move and a move. He had them do actual matches over and over and over again. So like they all learned how to be pro wrestlers, and like Zach Efron learned how to be a pro wrestler for this. And also, they're huge.
yeah.
Like the amount of muscle they had to put on to perform these roles was insane. So
That's my 2024 goal is to look like that by December.
good luck.
Let's see, let's
We're
see
all
what
counting
happens.
on you.
No, but I guess before we conclude, specifically, I feel bad that I didn't add that to my honorable mention, or maybe, yeah, like fantastic movie, definitely honorable mention for me too. That's one, and then two. Also, I think only honorable mention is because like I don't know if I could ever watch that movie again, like ever again. Like that movie's so it's 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 a
Unrelenting.
lot. Yeah, it's a lot. But also, how did you feel? I guess my question for you is because we're both guys. Like, how do you feel about like how it depicted? I guess kind of like masculinity. Specifically, what I'm thinking about, I guess the whole movie in general, but also I'm thinking about like at the very end when you see kind of like Zac Efron talking to his sons, and he's kind of like apologizing for crying, and his sons, this in which is like one line, or kind of like teach him to kind of like,
I
no, like
have men in my
we don't
life
think that. Yeah.
that have that perspective that Fritz von Erich had.
Mm.
And that very specific perception of masculinity.
It's like really
And
narrow.
yeah, and it's very harsh and judgmental. And I am not that kind of person. I have cried much in my life. I will admit that right now, like a lot. And I'm a sensitive person and I have a lot of feelings and I will tell you them. But like this was a hard man who raised his sons in a very toxic way, and the results of it is just harrowing to watch in this film. So
Also, the
yeah.
mom too was kind of
Oh,
not
and
the
she was
mom of the
just as
year.
big a part of the problem by being a non-factor. That's one of the coldest parts of this film is how much of a non-factor into all of this their mother was, because she was living in her place.
Mm.
And like what this has to say about society and those kinds of dynamics. Oh, this film so amazing. Now I'm getting like I'm feeling a lot of things right now just thinking about this movie.
Let's talk about
But
Barbie again. Um,
oh my god. Will Ferrell. It's like yeah, whisper it. Oh. It like just
dude,
falls out.
when he used the word Jezebel, I was like, did he say the word Jezebel in
Yeah.
2023?
Now I kind of want to watch Barbie again because I just need to just I just need a warm blanket right now. Matt, I just have a lot of feelings.
Did
I
you
should just
see
watch
Mean
Mean
Girls?
Girls instead.
Was Mean Girls like the musical? Was it like thumbs up, thumbs sideways? What do you think? I didn't see it yet.
A little bit above thumb sideways.
Got you.
I
Okay.
had a fun time with it.
Okay.
That will
Got you.
certainly not be in my top 10 of 2024, but we shall see. But Matt, thank you so much for coming on and continue our tradition about talking about our top 10 films of the year.
Dude, thank you for having me, man. It's really interesting to like Like when I'm making these lists and I'm going through Letterbox and it's like, oh man, like, oh yeah, crap, like I watched that. And I had to like go to Google just like confirm everything came out in 2023. Because like I was like Joyride, did Joyride come out in 2023?
Yeah,
But
it
like yeah,
feels so long ago, but it did. Yeah, I
yeah.
have seen 775 films.
Do you still do the Excel sheet? Is that how you keep track? Or is or like
Correct. I did make letterbox lists though too,
mm,
but not everything I watch is on Letterboxd.
also interesting. Okay. Hmm.
Yeah, that's how far I deep Matt dig. That's how deep I dig, Matt.
Respect, respect, man. Much respect.
But thank all of you out there for always tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewers.